I still remember the exact second I realized I already worked there. It hit me when my badge swung forward and I caught the reflection in a glass wall. The photo was mine, the name was mine, and the company logo above it looked familiar in the worst possible way, like a face you recognize from a nightmare. The badge did not look new. The plastic was cloudy at the corners, scuffed like it had been dragged across concrete. My stomach dropped because I knew I had picked it up less than a minute earlier from the receptionist. And yet the badge looked like it had been through years of Monday mornings. My name is Ethan Miller. I was 29 then, living in Chicago, trying to claw my way out of a streak of bad luck that had started with a layoff and turned into a full-blown identity crisis. I used to be the guy with a plan, degree, entry job, steady promotions, the kind of life that makes your parents relax at Thanksgiving. Then the company I worked for merged, the new leadership trim departments, and my role vanished with a polite email that used the word restructure like it was a prayer. I burned through savings faster than I admitted to anyone. I slept at weird hours. I lived on coffee and anxiety. I told myself it was temporary, just a rough quarter. Then I got the interview email. It came in at 2:17 a.m. I was awake, staring at my ceiling, doom-scrolling job boards like it was a second job. The subject line was clean and corporate, interview confirmation. The sender name was a company I did not remember applying to. The logo in the email was just a plain circle with a thin line through it, like a muted icon. I scanned for details. Modern office, downtown, 9th floor, bring a government ID, arrive 15 minutes early. The part that made my skin prickle was the calendar attachment. It had already been accepted. I had not clicked accept. I had not even opened the invitation before it popped into my calendar like it owned the place. Time slot, 9 a.m. the very next morning. Location, 909 West Madison, Suite 900. I stared at it, wondering if I was more tired than I thought. If I had sleep applied to some job listing and forgotten. That happens. The mind does weird things when you live in panic mode. But there was a second line in the email, not bold, not highlighted, just sitting there like an afterthought. Please arrive alone. I told myself it was normal, some security policy, some office rule. I closed my laptop and tried to sleep. I could not. At 6:30 a.m., I took a shower, shaved too aggressively, and put on my best suit, the one that still made me feel like I belonged in a conference room instead of a spiral. The morning was Chicago gray, the kind that makes everything look like it was filmed through a wet sheet of plastic. I took the blue line, stared at my reflection in the window, and rehearsed answers in my head. Strengths, weaknesses. Why this company? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? All the little lies you are expected to deliver with confidence. I got off at the stop closest to the address and walked fast, the way you do when you're trying to outrun your own thoughts. The building was a glass monolith that blended into the skyline. No flashy signage, no name over the door. Just a security desk inside and a wall of polished steel that reflected everyone back at themselves. A man in a suit that looked too perfect waved me through a scanner without asking for my name. He did not smile. He did not frown. His face was the emotional equivalent of a loading screen. I reached the elevator bank and pressed 9. The button lit up, then went dark, then lit up again, like it could not decide whether it recognized the input. The elevator ride was silent, except for a soft hum, a frequency that felt like it was coming from inside my molars. The display above the door said 2, then 5, then 7, then 9. It skipped 8. I noticed it, filed it away as weird, and told myself not to be dramatic. The doors opened into a lobby that smelled like cold air conditioning and stale coffee, the kind of smell that never fully leaves corporate carpet. Everything was white and grey. Clean lines, minimalist art, a wall with the circle logo repeated like a pattern. The receptionist desk was curved and glossy. Behind it sat a woman who looked like she had been placed there. Not sitting exactly, positioned. Her hair was too neat, her makeup too perfect, her eyes too still. She did not greet me. She slid a clipboard across the counter without meeting my gaze. One question sat at the top of the page in heavy black letters. When did you last lie? No company name, no welcome message, no forms, just that. I blinked, waiting for her to say something like, "This is part of our culture fit process." She did not. Her gaze stayed fixed on a point slightly to the left of my face. I picked up the pen attached to the clipboard by a chain. The pen felt warm, like someone else had been holding it. I hesitated, then wrote, "This morning." This. It was the truth, in a way. I had lied to myself in the mirror, telling myself I was fine. But I watched the ink appear on the paper, and it was not what my hand was writing. The letters formed in a sharper, cleaner style than my handwriting. The sentence that showed up was different. It said, "Right now." My fingers tightened around the pen. I tried again, slower, pressing harder. I wrote, "I do not know." The ink wrote, "You do." My pulse jumped. I looked up at the receptionist like a kid caught cheating. Her face did not change. She did not look at the paper. She did not look at me. She said, flat and quiet, that I could proceed when I was done. Proceed where? I asked. She pointed not at me, but past me toward a hallway that seemed longer than it should have been. The kind of hallway that makes you feel like you are walking into a building that is larger on the inside. I carried the clipboard with me because I did not know what else to do with it. As I walked down the hall, I passed doors labeled with words that sounded normal but felt wrong. Orientation, culture, retention, compliance, separation. Each label was printed in the same thin font, same sterile style. The kind of typography designed to be forgotten. At the end of the hallway was a door with no label, just a handle and a faint strip of light at the bottom. I pushed it open. A conference room, long table, black chairs, a carafe of water, a whiteboard that had been cleaned so many times it looked like the surface was tired. A wall of windows showing the city, except the city looked muted, like someone had turned the saturation down. One man sat at the far end of the table. He wore a suit that looked expensive but old, like it had been tailored for someone who never changed. His hands rested neatly on a folder. His face was handsome in a generic way, like a stock photo of management. He did not stand. He did not offer a handshake. He gestured to the chair closest to the door. I sat. The chair was already warm. He said my name like he was reading it from a script. He asked if I knew why I was there. I started my practiced answer. I said I was excited about the opportunity. I said I admired the company values, even though I did not know what they were. I said I was looking for a role where I could contribute and grow. As I spoke, the pen in my hand moved by itself. I had not realized I was still holding it. It scratched notes on the paper without me deciding to. I tried to stop, but my fingers felt stiff, like they were obeying a different brain. The man listened without reacting. When I finished, he asked about my previous role. I described my last job: analyst work, data, reports, meetings that could have been emails, the usual corporate life. He nodded once and opened the folder in front of him. Inside were photographs, surveillance stills printed on glossy paper. The first one was me sitting in that same chair. Same room, same angle, same posture. But I was wearing a different suit. My hair was slightly longer. My tie was a different color. The expression on my face in the photo was not confusion. It was exhaustion. He slid the first photo toward me, then another, then another. Each one showed me in that chair on different days. The timestamp in the corner changed. The dates changed. Weeks, months. Some photos looked older, yellowed at the edges, like they had been printed long ago. In one of them, I was holding my head in my hands. In another, I was staring directly at the camera, eyes wide, like I knew I was being watched. I told him those photos were fake. I said I had never been here before. He asked me when I last lied. I felt my throat tighten. I told him I was telling the truth. The words came out too fast. He slid a badge across the table. My badge, the one that was scuffed and cloudy. He said that I had been returning for a long time. He said that I always returned. He said that the system liked me because I was consistent. I tried to stand up. I tried to end it the way you end a bad interview. Thank you for your time. I will follow up. My legs moved, but the door behind me made a soft beep. I turned and saw a sensor beside the handle, glowing green, like it had scanned me. A voice came from a small speaker above the door, calm and cheerful in the way automated voices always are. Employee returning. I froze, hands still on the back of the chair. The word employee landed in my chest like a weight. The interviewer said I could leave whenever I wanted. He said freedom was a key value. He said autonomy was essential for performance. I walked to the door anyway and pulled the handle. It did not move. The green light blinked. The speaker repeated itself. Employee returning. I turned back, trying to control my breathing. I asked him what this was. A prank, a test, some weird corporate cult thing. He said it was process. I said I wanted to leave. Behind him, a printer on a side table whirred to life. It had been silent before. It had not been plugged into anything I could see. A sheet of paper slid out. He picked it up without looking and placed it in front of me, like a waiter setting down a check. It was a termination letter, my name at the top, my employee ID number, a date stamped near the signature line. The date was yesterday. I stared at it, heart pounding. I had not been employed there yesterday. I was certain. I remembered the day. I had been in my apartment applying to jobs, eating cold pizza, convincing myself my life was not collapsing. I said I wanted to leave again, louder. The printer whirred again. Another termination letter, same text, same name. The date changed, still yesterday. I looked at the interviewer. He watched me like I was a metric on a dashboard. He said the paperwork was automatic. He said the system updated quickly when it sensed disengagement. He said retention was important, but separation was always an option. His eyes flicked briefly to the clipboard in front of me. The question was still there. When did you last lie? My hands were sweating. My mouth tasted like metal. I asked him what he wanted. He said he wanted alignment. He said the company had a simple philosophy. People could leave as long as they were honest about why they were leaving. People could stay as long as they were honest about why they were staying. The problem was that most people lied to themselves first. The system did not tolerate that. He told me to answer the question properly. I picked up the pen. I tried to write, "I do not belong here." The ink wrote, "You do." I pressed harder until my fingers hurt. I wrote, "I never applied to this job." The ink wrote, "You asked for it." I threw the pen across the table. It clattered, then rolled to a stop, then rolled again as if someone nudged it with an invisible finger. The interviewer sighed, not annoyed, more like patient, like he had seen this performance 1,000 times. He said I could take a break. He gestured toward the hallway. He said I could get water, reset, then come back and finish. The door behind me clicked. The sensor light turned from green to a soft white, as if granting permission. I stepped out of the room into the hallway, gripping the clipboard like it could protect me. The air felt colder. The lights buzzed softly. The carpet dampened my footsteps. Everything was quiet in a way that made me feel like sound itself was discouraged. I walked toward the lobby, thinking I could run, thinking I could force my way out, thinking I could find a stairwell. Halfway down the hall, I passed a door labeled retention. It was slightly open. A narrow slice of light spilled out. I should have kept walking. I did not. I pushed the door open. Inside was a room filled with cubicles, rows of them packed tight. Each cubicle had the same setup: a computer monitor, a keyboard, a headset, a small photo frame turned face down. The strangest part was the people. Every seat was occupied. Men and women in office clothes, sitting perfectly still, eyes on their screens, hands hovering above keyboards like statues posed mid-task. Their faces were blank, not asleep, not dead, just waiting. The monitors glowed with the same question. When did you last lie? One person turned slowly toward me, a man about my age, pale, dark circles under his eyes. He looked terrified but exhausted, like terror had become routine. His lips moved, but no sound came out. He pointed toward my clipboard with shaking fingers. Then he pointed toward the far wall. I followed his gesture. On the wall was a screen, like an office dashboard. Charts, graphs, percentages, a big word at the top: retention. Beneath it was a number that kept ticking upward like a stopwatch. And next to the number was my name. I backed out of the room, heart hammering. The door swung shut behind me without my hand touching it. I reached the lobby. The receptionist was still there, still staring slightly away from my face. I asked her how to leave. She said I could leave any time. Her voice was gentle now, almost kind. I asked where the exit was. She turned her eyes toward me for the first time. For a split second, I thought her irises looked wrong. Not colored, not human. Like the dark part of the eye was a hollow circle that went deeper than it should. She said the same thing again. You can leave any time. Then she slid a different clipboard toward me. This one had a form with my name already printed. At the bottom was a signature line. She tapped the line with one finger. Sign, she said, and you can start. Start what? I asked. She said orientation. I turned away and headed for the elevators. I did not care if I looked crazy. I did not care if I was rude. I just wanted to get out of the building and into the messy, loud reality of the city. The elevator doors opened immediately like it had been waiting. I stepped in and pressed the ground floor button. Nothing happened. I pressed again. Still nothing. Then the panel lit up on its own. A single button blinked. 9. The doors closed. The elevator moved up. I felt the hum in my teeth again. The number display flickered between floors, skipping, stuttering like it was glitching. For a second it showed 0, then 12, then 9 again. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Same lobby, same receptionist, same smell, same silence. I stepped out slowly like I had walked in a circle inside a box. The receptionist did not look surprised. She slid my badge across the counter as if I had forgotten it. My badge was now more scuffed than before. The corners looked cracked. I asked her what day it was. She said it was yesterday. I pulled out my phone. No signal. The clock on my lock screen read 8:59 a.m., 1 minute before my interview time. But I had been in that building for what felt like hours. My calendar notification popped up. Interview begins in 1 minute. I ran for the stairwell. I found the door with the little red exit sign above it, pushed it open, and started down. The stairwell smelled like dust and old paint. The lights were dim and flickered as I moved. My footsteps echoed too loudly. I ran down 1 flight, 2, 3. The door at the next landing opened into a hallway. Same 9th floor hallway. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back into the stairwell and kept going down. After another flight, the door opened again. Same hallway. Panic surged through me like heat. I kept running, counting the landings, forcing my legs to move. My lungs burned. Sweat soaked my shirt. Every landing opened to the same 9th floor hallway. It was not a building. It was a loop wearing the costume of a building. I leaned against the wall, shaking. I thought about smashing a window, pulling a fire alarm, anything. But there were no windows in the stairwell, no alarm box, no emergency phone, only smooth walls and the constant hum of electricity. I walked back up because down was not working. At least up would put me where people were. When I reached the lobby again, the receptionist was gone. The chairs in the waiting area were empty. The lights were still on, but the space felt abandoned, like a stage after the actors leave. My interview door at the end of the hallway was open. I walked in. The interviewer was standing now. He looked pleased, like I had completed a task. He said I had taken a break and returned. He said that was good. He said resilience mattered. I asked him what he was. A person, a program, a demon in a suit. I did not care. I just needed an explanation that my mind could hold. He said he was a role. He said the company was made of roles. Every person who entered either completed the role or became the role. The system did not care which. The system only cared that the process continued. I told him I wanted to leave. The printer whirred. A termination letter slid out. Yesterday. He placed it on the table and pointed to the signature line. He said all I had to do was sign. He said signing meant I accepted separation. He said that was the proper way. I stared at the paper. My hand hovered over the pen like it was a trap. I asked him what would happen if I signed. He said I would be released. I asked released where. He said outside. He said something in his tone made my skin crawl. Outside could mean anything. Outside the company, outside the building, outside life. I looked at the question on my clipboard again. When did you last lie? My mind flashed through all the lies I had told in the last year. Lies to friends about doing fine. Lies to my parents about having interviews lined up. Lies to myself about being in control. Lies that kept me upright. Then I realized the biggest lie. I had been lying about what I wanted. I did not want this job. I wanted a rescue. I wanted someone to tell me I was still valuable. I wanted the feeling of being chosen. I wanted to stop feeling like I was disappearing. I wanted any door that opened. That was the lie. I told myself I was chasing a career. I was really chasing proof that I existed. I picked up the pen and wrote my answer slowly, carefully, forcing my hand to stay honest. I wrote that I last lied when I told myself I was willing to become anything just to be hired. The ink stayed the same as my handwriting. For the first time, it did not correct me. The room went quiet in a new way. The lights stopped buzzing. The hum in my teeth faded. The interviewer nodded like I had finally hit the correct checkbox. He said, "Great, now you can start." My heart sank. I told him no. I said I answered. I said I told the truth. I demanded the exit. He smiled wider than before, just slightly too wide to look natural. He pushed a stack of resumes toward me. Every resume had my name at the top, but the job histories were different, like alternate versions of my life. One had me as a teacher, one had me as a paramedic, one had me as an accountant, one had me as nothing at all, just blank pages. He said I had been applying for a long time. He said the system had finally found the honest version of me. He said that meant I was ready to be useful. I stood up, backing away from the table. I reached for the door. This time the sensor did not beep. It clicked open like a courtesy. I stepped into the hallway. The hallway was darker. The lobby lights were off. The building felt hollow. I walked to the elevator and pressed the ground floor button. It worked. The doors opened to the building lobby at street level. I practically ran out, pushing through the glass doors into the cold Chicago air. Except it was not Chicago. The street was empty. No cars, no buses, no distant sirens. The skyline was there, but it looked like a static image. The windows in the buildings were dark. Even the river looked wrong, too still, like a sheet of metal. I turned back to look at the building I had escaped. There was no logo, no name, no directory, just a blank facade and a small sign by the door in clean black letters. Open positions. I stumbled backward, dizzy. My phone buzzed in my hand. A calendar notification popped up. Interview begins in 1 minute. My screen flickered, and for half a second I saw my own face on the lock screen camera, pale, eyes wide, like someone else was holding the phone and filming me. I ran down the sidewalk, shouting, waving, searching for anyone. The city swallowed my voice. There was no echo. There was no response. Then I heard it. The hum, not in my teeth now, in the air, in the pavement, in the bones of the empty streets. The same frequency that had lived inside the elevator. It was the sound of a system running without witnesses. I do not know how long I wandered. Minutes, hours, days. Time did not behave. The sky stayed the same color. The light never changed. My stomach never growled. I never felt thirsty. It was like the world outside the building was a holding room. Eventually, I found myself back at the building entrance, not because I chose it, but because every street seemed to curve toward it, like gravity. The doors opened before I touched them. Inside, the lobby lights were on again. The receptionist was back at her desk. The waiting chairs were aligned perfectly. The air smelled like stale coffee and cold conditioning. She slid a clipboard toward me. "When did you last lie?" My badge was on the counter, waiting. Even more scuffed now. "I want to tell you I broke the loop. I want to tell you I found the cheat code, the hack, the brave solution that makes this a story with a clean ending. The truth is uglier." I sat in that chair again. I watched the pen correct me again. I watched the printer spit out yesterday again. I learned how the system works the way you learn how a cage works, not by understanding it, but by bumping into the bars until you stop bleeding. And then one day, after what felt like 100 returns, I did the one thing I swore I would never do. I started helping. It happened slowly. They gave me a headset. They sat me in retention. They taught me how to speak in the calm voice. They taught me the phrases. They taught me how to guide people to the signature line without ever calling it a trap. They taught me to say you can leave anytime with a straight face. I told myself I was doing it to survive. Another lie. So here is the only thing I can offer you that still feels like truth. If you ever get an interview email that appears already accepted, if you ever walk into a building with no name, if you ever get handed a clipboard with that question, do not try to be impressive. Do not try to be perfect. Do not try to give the answer you think they want. Answer the one thing you have been hiding from yourself. Because the system does not punish you for lying to them. It punishes you for lying to you. And once it knows you will become anything to be chosen, it will choose you forever.